Hello, Booknerds. I'm back with another live session, and what a day! It's Halloween, and I'm in the mood. You can see me right here in all black, and we are going to go live with an author. I think so. The author is here. I'll just say. So the books to be discussed are these: Ghosts of the Silent Hills and Ghosts in the Dark Silence. It's pretty obvious. I mean, it's Halloween. Obviously, we are going to do that, right? And the author's name is Anita Krishnan. She's a prolific author and a very diverse one at it. So I've just sent her an invite, and then we'll be talking to her about the books, of course. But yeah, do during the session as well, you're free to kind of share your experiences, spooky experiences in the comments. The session should be super interesting because Anita ma'am is from the hills and she knows a bit about these spooky experiences. So it's going to be super interesting. And we'll ask her about her personal experiences. And of course, the books are, you can see here, right here, inspired by true events. So we might get to know some, really interesting, um, anecdotes or so as to say spooky stories. So just waiting for Anita ma'am to join us, and then we'll go ahead with the session. So let me till then talk about these books. Ghost in the Dark Silence, which is the new one, is has got short stories, which is always cool because you can get over with them very quickly, and uh, it makes for really quick and absolutely terrifying reading. So that's what I experienced when I was reading these book, this one especially. And I have read Ghosts of the Silent Hills previously, and I think so maybe a couple of years back. I think so. And yeah, the format is pretty similar, but I suppose Ghosts in the Dark Silence was slightly more, on the spookier side. Okay. You can share your spooky experiences and the books you love, I mean, in the horror genre. That would be great. Hi, Foreign and Doon. How are you? Do share your favorite, horror books and spooktacular story time. Yes, of course, we are going to do that. I'll be also sharing a story from the book, and I'll request the author as well to share the BTS, behind the scenes, of how she wrote the book, why she wrote the book, and of course where she got inspired from. Because these stories are from some of inspired by stories told to her by some friends and family. So that's interesting because that makes them kind of very believable and more eerie. This is a horror story of sorts trying to join a live and goes you. Okay, this is a horror story of sorts trying to join a live and technology goes you. Oh my god, yes. Technology is super strange writing catalog. It can ghost you anytime. So yeah, I'm just waiting. The cover reminds me of Goosebumps. Yes, absolutely. You are so on point with this. It is absolutely very close to Goosebumps. So yes, let me tell you a bit about a story from the book till the author joins in. And the story about Ouija boards, it's super interesting because it's called the Ouija Backlash. So my team tells me that the author is joining in, so we need to be patient.
So hi Rohan. So yeah, finally I'm here.
Yeah. Before we start, and thank you so much, ma'am, for doing this because it's been a while. I think so. We did this in during COVID. I suppose
Yeah,
for this one.
Few years ago, probably.
Uh,
Few years ago we did that. Yeah.
and even that was a very eerie experience for me because these stories that you have written are so what do you call, they are believable in some ways because someone like me who has been brought up in and around the hills and the mountains, I know that these things happen, but I never have had the skills to write them down like you. And also people don't believe you immediately, right? Because this is hearsay, so as to say, because you hear these stories from people, and but you are sometimes able to narrate them not in a way to convince the other person exactly, and already people are so skeptic. Everybody's skeptic about these stories.
Everybody's skeptic,
Yeah.
yes.
So
To begin
anyway,
with.
a little bit about Anita ma'am, and she has written a diverse. Of course, she's very prolific. That's something which is admirable about her, and the stories that she has written, the books that she has written, are quite varied, which is quite wonderful. The first time I found her was through Fluffy and Me, and that was a beautiful, like very sweet story. And I remember my mom, who is not alive anymore, she passed away this year. She was in love with that book. I mean, really
So,
appreciate the book. She was the first one who kind of told me about it. Like, this is really cool, and this is very. So that's when I got introduced to Anita Krishnan, and of course, then of course, Tears of Jhelum, Despite Stolen Dreams, which are more like, hardcore, so as to say, and came this series of ghost books, and I was surprised, to be honest, ma'am. I was like, okay, she was writing in
totally
totally
different.
different genre. I was very surprised, but it made sense because you have spent a lot of time in the mountains, and it makes total sense that somebody writes it. Here in Dehradun, Masuri, Mr. Raskin does the trick for us. He narrates these very these stories, but in a very cute sort of way, which is, I like them, but I think so. This is more like these are more intense, and that's why I love them more, because this does more justice to the genre, so as to say.
Yeah.
Nothing against, of course, the great one, but
Thanks for that.
it is.
Thanks for that,
So
Rohan. Yeah.
yeah, ma'am. I hope we didn't trouble you too much with the Instagram live joining.
See, Rohan, what's happened?
Yeah.
I'm from a generation. Well, anyway, first of all, hello to everyone, and thank you for this invite, Rohan.
Yeah.
And it's my pleasure to be here with you. And see, uh, um, the question is, what was your question once again? What were we
So
discussing?
I was asking you that. I hope I haven't troubled you with all this
No,
technology.
no. It's my pleasure to be here. Absolutely.
So great. So I really wanted to jump into the latest book, and it was super interesting for we were talking about that particular story about the Ouija board. I hope I'm because I only found Ouija boards through these books, not these books, but through books in general, because I don't know the pronunciation, and I have never tried. What's it called? Ouija or
Ouija. It's called Ouija. Ouija.
Ouija?
Pronounced
Oh,
as Ouija. Its spellings are Ouija,
yeah.
but it's pronounced as Ouija board.
Goodness gracious. You see, the people from, I mean, I'm now old enough to say kind of, because we found these in books. So we never knew the pronunciation, right? We kept on kind of, saying it the same way. Thank you for correcting me. Ouija board.
Ouija
And
board.
this Ouija board story, it's, it lingers on, to be honest, because I thought that, okay, I'll get into the story and I'll get out of it and all good. But I felt that it lingered on because there are three parts to it, of course. And I read the first one and I was like, okay, let's take a break because it was getting too hectic for me, in the sense I was scared, in simpler terms. But then, when the plot moves to other cities, it gets pretty interesting. Tell us a bit the behind the scenes of this, because this is a story which many people tell, but to translate it into coherence, in terms of literature, what does it take to kind of make sense of it all?
So, since you have just discussing the Ouija board one, and that really, caught your interest deeply. First of all, like I've mentioned it on, at the title, next to the title of both the books,
Yep.
that these stories are based on true events.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely, I mean, I'm not the one who is going to mislead my readers.
Yeah.
So each and every story, the core elements, the base is true.
Yeah.
So this Ouija board, story, one young girl, she's my niece's friend. After she had read Coast of the Silent Hills, she was, after my niece that she wanted to get in touch with me because she has a story to share. She says, I have to share because nobody believes me. And after reading ma'am's book stories, I think she's the one who's going to believe me.
Okay.
So we set up a date too, and we just talked. I think she lived in Mumbai at that time, and we talked on the phone. And basically, I sat with a pen and a notebook, and she just kept on and on with her things, and it was pretty confusing. But I was writing down just the notes, and by the end of the talk, I was quite confused and had only half a page of few notes jotted down.
Yeah.
But when I started writing and I picked up each point and I started weaving my story around it, I realized that it made sense.
Okay.
And it had happened. The spirit had followed her from Kashmir. Her father was in the army, and the spirit followed. And it all started with this the prank that the sister was playing with a Ouija board. And from Kashmir to father was posted in Ambala. There's a huge army cantonment in Ambala. And from Ambala to Kanchi, came to join a college in Delhi. And it followed her everywhere. Although the intensity is, of course, added on by me because the author's imagination has to go into the stories.
Of course.
But
It be entertaining, right? It has to be a little bit entertaining as well. Because
entertaining. Yeah.
I really agree that these things they can only be felt. And, you perhaps detect a negative energy or, then it kind of sometimes escalates or de-escalates with perhaps location. I don't know. I'm talking about location because it is relevant to the story in the book. But yeah, I mean, the author has to weave the magic and
add on a lot to imagination. So that's why the stories are based on true events, but they're not 100% true.
Right.
So, yeah. But the core element of each story has happened. And in the first book, there were few, even in this book, which are my family stories.
Oh, yes.
So the ones which happened long ago, where I'm talking about in 50s and 60s, they are all my family stories.
I know because in the previous one, when I read it, there was a lot of mention of the Wildflower Hotel and, Wildflower House. And of course, I also wanted to take the opportunity to ask you about, and then we'll get to the story, of course. Because back in the day, I think so, 5-6 years back, I stayed in this hotel called Wood. You know about it, right?
I think you did.
Woodville.
What was it called?
Woodville.
Yeah. Both of you had gone. You and Neha, I remember that.
So I always mention that because I felt that, it had that kind of, ambience and vibe.
And that kind of energy around. That kind of energy. Yes.
Tell us more about the Wildflower because, of course, this is the book where it's mostly the stories are there.
I think let's conclude with that story because I would like to tell exactly what had happened. So let's go to other topics.
Sure.
And then I would like to conclude with that story because, that's something for my listeners to listen to.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about poltergeists and, the kind of effect they have on people and the appearances they have, the intensity they have. In these stories, which you have narrated over a couple of books, and when you heard these stories from other people, you have mentioned in the acknowledgement as well, 2-3 people who have narrated these stories to you. What is the common sort of thread which you have felt and heard and sort of accumulated from those stories? What is a common thread in these phenomena?
When you're talking of poltergeist phenomena, and that is where the spirit is probably a violent spirit, or they are able to move things or throw things.
Yeah.
None of my actually those. If you have seen actually very few places where I have mentioned about poltergeist
Yeah.
incidents happening,
Yeah.
but the fact is that things have happened. Have you heard of Karkarduma Court in Delhi? Have you read
No,
about it?
no, I haven't heard about it. Yeah.
Okay, there's this court in Delhi, Karkarduma Court, where these people have experienced something in reality. And, there is a video footage of what is happening. So after the sundown,
Wow.
they say there are many spirits live in that court, but
Okay.
they come alive only after the sundown,
Okay.
as usual. That like the
Yes.
spirits are more active in the dark than during the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And the CCTV footage have caught them on camera,
Okay.
and they have been taped. So they have some kind of white figures emerging from the
Yeah.
walls.
Yeah.
uh, the computers on in the offices
Yeah.
switching on their own all of a sudden,
Yeah.
and drawers opening and files flying out.
Yeah.
Nobody has any explanation. Many people were called to
Yeah.
investigate this phenomena, but ultimate, the conclusion was that there was something definitely very spooky around. There was no explanation, and there's
Yeah.
no explanation to the world of spirits.
Yeah.
It's mysterious,
Yeah.
and that is why people don't believe, because nothing has been proven as yet.
Yeah.
Science has not been able to prove,
Yeah.
the existence of spirits. But all of a sudden, only some people come across. Only yesterday, I had two friends visiting me from London,
Okay.
and they started talking, because since I have my last, because of the books, they asked me whether I really believed in this phenomenon. I believed in ghosts and supernatural. So I said, frankly, it's none of my it's my personal experiences,
Yeah.
and fortunately, they are not.
Yes.
But then that lady said, the lady said that she is a non-believer, but she says that, but her very close cousin, she sees spirits.
Okay.
And she says she keeps telling everything, and it's been a long time, ever since her childhood. She sees, the spirits around her, and she talks about, and she tells us what's happening, but we never believe her. So do you think we should believe her? I said, yes, some people do have that kind of, extra sensory perception.
Right.
Like, did
Yeah.
you must have watched Sixth Sense,
I did.
the movie?
I did. Yeah.
So it's the
Yeah.
same thing. The child had extrasensory perception about,
Yeah.
the existence of the third world. They say this is a third dimension. It's a different dimension in which the
Yes.
spirit live.
In fact, I came across this in this, and I've been like in this zone for a bit because I knew that this session will be happening. There was an offline session also that happened in
Yeah.
Dehradun regarding horror books, and in fact, I'm happy to report that I narrated one of those stories from, in fact, the Ouija, what do you call
The
it, Ouija board,
Ouija board.
Ouija board
Ouija
story. In
board.
that, I narrated that story in that session because I loved it so much. So it was a lot of fun, and they were kids around. So I just distilled it to kind of make it more pleasant. But then and it they lapped it up. So I was very happy. So I watched this new series. It's called The Enfield Poltergeist, and it's on Apple TV Plus. People who want to watch something tonight because of obvious reasons, it's
Oh,
Halloween.
yeah, no,
So
being Halloween.
yeah, read the book, then watch the series, and it was the same thing was kind of mentioned vaguely in that series, that there may be multiple realms and dimensions which some people can perhaps pierce through
Yes,
their
yes.
extra
Yeah,
perspective.
perception. They have the, yeah.
Yeah, so it was very interesting for me, that because this is back in the 70s when a scientist, an inventor who wanted to record everything. There was a phenomena that was happening in Enfield in the UK, and he recorded everything like more than 200 hours. I don't know if you have read about it or you know about it, but it is like testament to the fact that there was something wrong,
Yeah.
just that we understand it completely. So I mean, in fact, in some of the cases, ma'am, the protagonist, I mean, the person who is suffering, are accused of perhaps coming up with it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
have you come
See, that's what
across? Yeah,
the doctors they say the same thing, that this is, when out of fear you start hallucinating,
yeah,
and what you are imagining you start seeing things.
yeah,
That's what the scientific explanation is about, meeting Mr. Ghost.
yeah.
But but you do not know, because you must have probably heard about or read the book Many Lives, Many Masters
Yes,
by Dr. Brian Weiss.
yes, yes,
He talks about previous lives, and he talks about when you talk of realms, he talks about 7 realms in which the spirits go to live
yeah,
after, and the death is not the end. And
yeah,
there's another book by Life After Life by Dr. Raymond Moody.
yeah. I think you have mentioned it in the book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So these are they have done years and years of research. Dr. Moody has got thousands of near-death cases
Yeah,
where people died and then it came back into the body, and they had to say that almost the same thing. Now they say that it is doctors. They say that it's an oxygen-deprived brain which starts believing and behaving like that, but why would they see the same thing all the time? Everybody sees the same thing. Everybody goes through a tunnel and meets a beautiful white light, and they suddenly have a vision of all the life and all the major events of their life, good and bad, and feeling of joy and feeling of pleasantness before they come back.
it can't
So
be the same. It can't be. Even
how would be, even if it's oxygen deprived brain, why would everybody have the same kind of experience after
in
death?
fact, you have shared a very personal story as well in the
Mm.
book, which
Yeah,
I was very touched by, and I was very. I'm sorry to hear about that.
yeah.
But share that or leave it for the readers to read in the book.
No, it's okay. But yeah, my husband did start seeing
Yeah,
things a day before he passed away.
yeah,
He started. We were both of us were in the bedroom, and he was actually slowly. His heart was, very slowly going away.
yeah,
And he started telling me, there are so many people around. Who are they? And why this man is sitting on my bed?
yeah,
What have they come for? They've come to meet me.
yeah.
That kind of thing. Yes. And the same thing happened. We saw with my father-in-law.
Okay.
I mean, this is my first-hand experience.
Yeah.
He started saying the same thing.
Okay.
Just before he passed away, he said, there are people in my, I don't know who are these
Yeah.
people, but there are a lot of people in the room.
It's absolutely, I mean, it's a matter of faith, and it's
Yeah.
always to. I love that the horror genre makes us kind of aware about what we don't understand, and then as a side read, we can obviously go to these books, Many Lives, uh,
Must. Yeah.
many, and there's another one by Devdutt Patnaik, Garud Puran, which is
Mm-hmm.
again very interesting book because it connects everything to mythology, and it's more then your faith and belief in everything is solidified, so as to
Just
say.
Garud Puran is exactly, it's actually basically this book is read after somebody's death, and it
Yes.
tells you about the journey of the spirit
Yeah,
after death. So
yeah,
what all it has to go to reach the ultimate place or heaven or whatever realm it reaches. But it's a
yeah,
journey of the spirit. So Garud Puran, and even if you, again, when we're talking about our ancient scriptures
yeah,
or our ancient books, all of them, including our Bhagavad Gita,
yeah,
they mention the existence of spirit, the existence that this life is not the end.
yeah,
Uh, Everywhere it says, and I mean, like, if we talk about our mythology or the advancement of our science, technology, of our medicines in ancient times, it was tremendous.
yeah, truly.
So,
And
yeah,
another
yeah.
story which really fascinated me was, and from this one, the new one, Ghost in the Town of Silence, and it was a mild spirit. And this one was quite interesting because the human element of it, because it's not only the ghosts that are evil in this world. you know there are good ghosts as well, but there are good people and bad.
No, no, they are. We are surrounded by, they say, I mean, like, I think, I believe, because sometimes things happen to you,
Yeah.
or you get guided towards something else than what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
Uh, and that is because, this belief is, and I believe in that we are also surrounded by our good spirits, that are angel spirits.
Yeah.
So they are there to protect us at times.
Truly. And in the a mild spirit, you touch upon the people using these powers to satisfy their selfish desires, and kind of uh, get better monetarily in life. You touch upon all these things, and you also touch upon black magic and how people are doing this. And we see, like, just roaming around. You go out on a Saturday or something, you see bunch of stuff on the road. People are doing all sorts of black magic, whatever you.
But Tantra is well known in our country in Hinduism.
Yeah.
Tantrics with the very powerful people or powers they have, they are able to communicate with ghosts and get things done. And many of them, when we come to black magic, many of them use their powers and their power to communicate or have spirits under their control. They use it for black magic, the negative things, to take revenge, to take become richer or get somebody killed. And it is if you go through it, actually this is not only it happens in our country. The black magic is ingrained in many cultures. In fact, there's a very interesting in China.
Yeah.
They have a black magic, like we have that tantric vidya here.
Yes. Yes.
In China, they have they make a pot in which they put poisonous snakes and other insects, and they close that pot and keep it till there is only one survivor, right?
Okay.
And then they use the poison of that survivor. Someone like I've mentioned that Kalyamasan in Tantric Vidya, where they use the mantras and the power of mantras, and they use the ash from a cremation ground, fresh ash, and feed it to the person. This with this Chinese, they feed it this, which is called, they call it ku.
Okay.
This particular thing.
Okay.
And it is again to kill the person or to acquire that person's wealth. So, and then you must have heard about voodoo.
Yes.
African voodoo is, it's a very old black magic they've been doing.
Yeah.
And in our country, there's a village called Mayong in Assam.
Okay.
That village is, you go, there is a whole lot of interesting things about that village. This is totally a village of black magic.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and people have experienced.
Wow.
People have seen people disappearing just into the thin air, or turned into animals all of a sudden in front of their eyes.
Wow.
You read about that Mayong village, you will know.
I will definitely. This is just amazing,
So,
also, guys, if you have questions, you can put them down in the comments. Ma'am would be happy to answer them. And about the book, about what do you feel about ghosts? Have you had an encounter of yourself? I hope you haven't, guys. But
let's go to Wildflower Hall, which I had interrupted in the middle. Yeah, so just 5 minutes. This Wildflower Hall is a building which is about 13 kilometers away from Shimla town. And it's a very famous building on top of a hill, totally surrounded by a dense forest of, cedar, the deodar and fir. And, today that, of course, it's a very famous place today, of course. It's a 5-star hotel, Oberoi's 5-star hotel today.
I know about
Oberoi's hotel.
You go to make my trip, and it is the first hotel that goes up.
Yeah, yeah. And below that, we have a whole lot of shops and tea stalls. But the story when I tell it had happened in mid 50s, 1950s. I was a very small child. I was a toddler at that time. So I have come to know from my family, even my father and my parents actually. And because you see, after independence, I've also mentioned about this book in my about this building in my book.
Yeah.
It was originally Lord Kitchener, who was chief of the army, Indian army at that time during the British time. Lord Kitchener. This building belonged to him, and then he had given it to. It was turned into a hotel even during British time, and then it was used for weekend haunts by all the British officers. And Shimla was a summer capital,
I
so
know.
yeah. So, and then after independence, India was a poverty-stricken country. We were left, we had Britishers had totally squeezed us out of all our wealth,
Truly.
and we had to start building right from the scratch. So where was the time for entertainment and hotels and the ballroom dancing halls? This building was converted into an agricultural school. So we were totally agricultural economy at that time. So my father was the first principal of that
Okay.
school, and there was nothing for miles and miles around that building. There was not even a tea shop. And then one fine day, my uncle, my father's younger brother, who was an engineer, and he had just joined Himachal PWT and was first posting. He must be about 24, 25 years old at that time. He was posted in a small place called Jewry, and near that China, India, or Kalpa, or Kinnaur
Yes.
region of Himachal. So there's a small place called Jewry, and that's where he got posted, first posting. And that particular road, which is between the Shimla to Kalpa,
Okay.
today itself, there are a lot of landslides and rocks rolling down. You can imagine what was the condition of that road in mid 50s.
Yeah.
Very bad road. So he decided to come to visit us at Wildflower Hall. And I think probably you have read the story. That's,
I
I
have
think,
read the
second
story.
story.
I know the story, but I'm not stopping you because the
Yeah.
viewer would love to hear.
Yeah, yeah. So he decided to visit us, and on the way he took like a foolhardy little late evening bus, and the bus broke down in the middle of the forest, middle of nowhere, and finally at about 12:30, and then there was hardly any traffic on that road.
Yeah.
Two buses used to ply, few government jeeps, and army. It was more of the army movement area because it's also called the Hindustan Tibet Road.
Right.
Yes, it's a national highway. So at 12 o'clock, one sole army truck came, and they had got stranded around 8. 4 hours, there was not a single vehicle that passed by. After 4 hours, an army truck came, and of course stopped, and the fellow gave them lift, and my uncle, was the only educated and the officer fellow there in that crowd, and very hardly 10, 12 people were there in the bus.
Yeah.
And he told the driver that I want to go to a place called Wildflower Hall, and I don't know where it is in Shimla. So that fellow says, "Don't worry, sir. I was the, the driver with the ADC to the governor, and we used to that. There's another building, the retreat, where the prime ministers and all used to stay in Shimla." And the Wildflower Hall is quite close to that building. I says, "I exactly know where it is. Don't worry." And he got a lift, and 2:30 at night, he stops the truck and says, "Sir, your destination has come."
Okay.
And my uncle looks around and says, "This is forest. What destination are you talking about?" And he says, "You see that little road going up? There was a pathway going up. This goes to that building."
Oh, wow.
In the pitch dark, middle of the night, there's no, the only light that came from was probably from a crescent half moon or a crescent moon at that time.
Yeah.
So he hopped out of the truck, with trepidation, making him jittery that where am I in the middle of the nowhere?
Yeah.
And the truck left. And my uncle, with his bag, holding his bag, turned to walk up.
Yeah.
Middle in the forest, middle of the night, there was a woman standing there.
Oh my gosh.
And what, he got scared, of course. He says, could this woman be? And then he tried saying, so maybe probably somebody from close by, some village woman, or maybe, she's deranged or something.
Yeah.
And he passed by her. So and since he was in a hurry, he just with quick strides, he was trying to climb up. And it's about 10 minutes walk uphill. Out of curiosity, he turned to look where she was. Had she gone, or was she still standing there? And the moment he turned, she was right behind him, following him.
Oh my. So,
And then
the story is not over. Please.
She followed him right till the building, and my uncle was half of the way, huffing and puffing and sweating and breathless. He ran uphill all the way, and all the way the woman maintained the same distance. She was with him. When he reached there, he turned, and then she was gone. He gave a sigh of relief, gone. But then he thought that I've been silly. This woman had to come with me. Probably she lives here. Yes. Somebody's wife here, and fine. And then he saw the big building. So he thought that would be the institute. And where would be the principal's house? He looked around, and there on the right side, there was a cottage. Which used to be the guest house at that time. Okay. Our family, my mother was the only woman at that time who was living around in that building. There was nobody. They were all bachelors. My father was the only married person with family. Wow. So my uncle saw that cottage. He says, that's probably the principal's house. So he turned around. There's a garden. There's a small pathway goes around the garden. He took that pathway, went to the building, and climbed up the stairs. And as he knocked, but he saw that it was locked. There was a big padlock on the door. He turned to go, and there she was again standing behind him.
Oh, goodness.
Then that was the time, he says, the chill ran down his spine. He started shivering. He jumped and he ran up towards the building, but that's how that was. And even if, he passed away about 2 years ago, but even every time you asked him, he says, she was a mystery woman. He would not say ghost to us, but he would say she was a mystery woman.
Because I have read the story like a couple of years back, but I still was getting goosebumps because I think so. The not so we are very used to glorifying all these things, with effect, and even in the movies, it is so glorified. But it's the little things that scare you, when you are.
The facts. That's exactly, something that can happen. Yes. In the movies, they make it very gory. Actually, sometimes they make it so bad that you can't watch. You don't want to watch blood dripping out and somebody's eating live flesh and all those things. They are
and they don't
really happen in real world.
People are flying around like all, but this eerie stuff, and especially in the Pahad, you get like even the air can make you really scared.
Because they are forlorn stretches of mountains and deserted roads, and such silence after once the sun goes down at night.
Oh my God.
So absolutely lonely pathways.
Yes.
Imagination would also run, but you never know. People out of the blue do experience sometimes things.
No, I know. Like if you live in Uttarakhand or perhaps Himachal, you hear these stories like every day, every other day. So it is very normal for us to hear these stories, but it's just faith, I suppose. Okay, I wanted to ask you about the storytelling part of it, because you are telling this story, but when it comes to writing on paper and creating that scare on paper, it is quite a tough art, right? Because you want people to get spooked eventually. That's the point.
Yes.
But you don't want to over dramatize it. So what are the tools you go back to? Because you have been an educator, you know what you're doing exactly.
Actually, it comes as for me, when I'm writing, it comes as a flow.
Okay.
Like I get lost into the world of my own imagination and
Yeah.
most
Oh,
protagonist. That
wonderful.
I'm there, experience this thing, and what would be my feelings? What would I do in a situation like that? So probably that's what keeps me going and makes me, to create that kind of atmosphere around my stories.
Ma'am, that's totally scary because one can get really, and even as a reader and as a viewer of this format, it is quite counterproductive to get too deep into this, and to get out of it, it becomes slightly, what I have felt personally, because I've been reading this now for a bit, and you know everything accumulates. You enjoy it, but at the
Yeah.
same time you are, but there is a trepidation that,
You
okay.
know why you enjoy? It is a fact. It's a scientific fact that when you are watching or reading horror stuff,
Mhm.
you release hormones,
Ah,
adrenaline,
mhm.
dopamine, and cortisol. These hormones are released.
Okay.
That's one thing,
Okay.
and that it is not bad. In fact, they say it's good because they prepare you for life.
Right.
So it's not bad, even for children. I don't say very small children, maybe 10
Yeah.
plus or 16 plus.
Yeah.
It is absolutely okay for them to read this supernatural
Ah,
stuff or something that is horror stuff,
yes.
because it prepares them for life.
Right.
Because sometimes you never know. There are, see, what I basically feel that what ghosts have ever done to other human beings is not as bad as other human beings do to other human
So true.
beings.
So true. And looking at the world right now, I think so humans are much
They're
worse.
out to kill each other, and I mean, like, imagine you throw a bomb in a hospital where people are suffering and already,
Yeah.
and the others are there, doctors and nurses, which are helping other people to survive. You
Yeah.
kill everyone.
That's
Imagine, I
going
mean, like, look at
to
the horrors of
that
this.
is going
These are real horrors.
negative energy. That there's going to be a lot of negative energy in these parts
Yes,
wherever the wars are happening. And wars have been happening for like now 2 years straight. It is a long
exactly.
time.
Long time.
Regions.
Russia and Ukraine on one hand,
Yeah.
and now the Palestine and Israel on the other hand, and proper wars are going on.
Yeah.
It's
So
not only that the skirmishes, they're
yeah,
wars.
it leaves a very bad trail of what we are talking
And
about.
on the other hand, you see even the dacoits or murderers. I mean, very seldom you see that a host had murdered someone, maybe out of revenge or
Yeah.
something. Once in a blue case, but
Right.
otherwise, see what human beings. There have been such terrible cases. I don't even want to talk
Yeah.
about them.
I know.
And you can't even imagine other human beings are capable of something like that.
Yeah.
But there are horrors in the world.
Of
More
course.
horrors in the world of living than in the dead.
And truly, truly. And I'm happy that you have, talked about all these things in your books, in your bookshelf, the author bookshelf that you have. I am very happy that, you have written everything about everything. So readers can pick up anything and they'll be, regaled.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this, ma'am. And
You're most welcome, Rohan.
we would
It's wonderful talking to
loved
you.
you to be here in Dehradun, but I know that you couldn't be here. But it would have been really awesome, and I would love to invite you over to Dehradun whenever you want to come.
Sure,
And
sure.
do come. And
I will try. I'll try my best.
sure,
But lately, some things were, I was a little busy with
I
a
know,
lot of things, with
I know,
festivals coming. My house was getting painted,
I,
and
I know.
so
But
yeah.
we were really hoping to see you here. Okay, Valentine Girl is saying it's so amazing hearing it from you. So I have read the story twice. Somebody has read the story twice, and that's so awesome, to enjoy it as well. Uh, Thank you so much, ma'am, and of course, happy Halloween. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah,
Watch my recommendation, the recommendation that I gave you.
sure.
Of course, we'll be reading your book. So this is the one, guys. You can check it out on Amazon, and the other one is right here.
Ghost of
And
Silent Hills. Yeah.
oh, somebody is commenting. It was really hearing from you after so long that I've been out of school. So it's
Okay, yeah, my old, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, my
Vaishali.
old student from school. Hi, Vishali. Yeah,
So it's
wonderful.
Halloween, guys. The book, I can assure you that you won't be disappointed at all. They are super eerie. If you love the jump scares, there are some jump scares also, and it has got everything which needs to go inside a ghost horror book. So thank you so much, and thank you, ma'am. And we would love you
Thanks to you,
again.
Rohan, for all this time and wonderful interaction. And thank you for all the listeners which have been with us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right, Rohan. Thanks.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, guys, that was Anita Krishnan, and these books by her are available on Amazon. You can order them, read them, and mention your feedback also. If you don't like a story or like a story, just mention in the review or perhaps DM her online. She's also on Instagram, so do that. And of course, happy Halloween. Read other books as well. Uh, uh, for example, Stephen King, and there are so many by Indian authors as well. Do give them a chance also. So do that. And of course, until next time, we'll be back with another awesome author. And until next time, happy reading, and don't be scared tonight.